What is going on, everybody? We are back with another review, and this time we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 21 of The Twilight Zone. The episode is called Mirror Image. Please remember to check the link in the description below. Hop on over to the Patreon, sign up. You get everything a full week early over there. And, so let's continue with the review. So again, episode is called Mirror Image. It was directed by John Bram, written by Rod Serling. Didn't have a composer that was listed here. But the episode was released February 26th, 1960. To give you a rundown of what happened during the episode, we start off with a lady inside a bus station, and she goes up to talk to the guy at the bus counter to ask when the bus to the next city that she's going to, because she's headed to Buffalo, but that's not exactly where it's like Concord or some shit. And he's like, lady, you were just here 30 minutes ago, 15 minutes before that, now you're here again. And she's like, I've never been up here. And then she looks over, she sees a bag that looks like hers behind the counter. And she's like, that's crazy, you have a bag that looks just like mine. And he's like, lady, you checked that bag in. And she looks back and her bag is gone. So amidst all this, she goes into the bathroom. There's a lady in the bathroom, and in her panic, the lady's like, you were just in here like 15 minutes ago. And she was like, I was not in here just 15 minutes ago. And at some point, she opens up the bathroom door, and she can see herself through the mirror sitting on the bench. She panics. The lady asks if she's okay. She says, I'll be fine. She goes out, sits down. Eventually, a guy from outside comes in, hands her a bag, and is like, hey, here's your bag. It's a different kind of bag. It's like a purse kind of bag, not an actual suitcase kind of bag. He's like, you dropped this. And she's like, thank you. They start to have a conversation. She's trying to explain everything, the way things have been happening. He obviously doesn't believe her, because who would? And then, after a long conversation and a little bit more panicking from her, the bus finally shows up. They go to get on the bus, and she gets her ticket torn. He gets his ticket torn. As they're getting ready to get on the bus, she looks up in the window, screams, panics, runs back inside, and it shows that her other self is sitting on the bus on the inside. The guy chases in after her. She's apparently fainted. He lays her down on a bench. They tell the bus to go ahead and go. They'll catch the next one. And as she's laying there, she eventually does wake up. And he's like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, the bus. And he's like, they had to leave. There'll be another bus coming soon. And he asks what happened. She tells him. And then she just goes into this huge conspiracy theory of this mirror world, image world thing. And then after that, he says, okay, well, I've got this family member, or I know this person. He's like a doctor or something. I don't remember exactly how he worded it. I'm going to go call him real quick, and I'll be right back. So he goes to the counter with the guy in the bus station. And the guy's like, so you're going to call your family? I think that lady's crazy. She needs some help. And he's like, I don't have family that lives there. I'm actually calling somebody to help her. So he calls up the cops. After he's done, he walks over to her, and he's like, hey, you want to just step outside for some fresh air? And she's like, yeah, sure. So he grabs her things. They walk outside. And almost as soon as they walk outside, the cops show up, shove her into the car, and drive off. Almost like she's being kidnapped, by the way. It was a little weird. So anyways, I missed a part where at some point where she went in the bathroom once while he was making the phone call, and she was like looking for herself. Anyways, that doesn't matter really. So she's basically taken by the cops. She's driven off, and he goes back in, and the bus station guy's like, well, you got like 4 hours before the bus comes back around, so if you want to go ahead and sleep, you can sleep on the bench. Nobody will come in here for rest of the morning, because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning or some shit. 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's a little over. Probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. So he sets a suitcase down, sets some things down. I believe, if I remember correctly, I think he went into the bathroom for a second. Or no, he walked over across the room for a second, turned back around, because I think he went for some water. He realized his bag was missing. Yeah, he went to go drink water out of a water fountain, realized his bag was missing. And he goes back over, and he's like, he kind of starts looking for his bag, and then all of a sudden he sees what looks like himself running out of the room. He screams for the guy. He chases after him. You get this really terrible, overlap effect where he's supposed to be chasing himself. It looks very bad, which is great though. By the way, I'm not complaining about that at all. I love that type of stuff. So he's like chasing himself down the road, and then he's yelling at him, and his self basically gets away. But his self wasn't carrying the bag or the suitcase, so it didn't really matter anyways. So I don't know why he started chasing this guy, but it's almost like he realized that maybe this mirror image person does exist. Now, that's the end of the episode. With that being said, I will say this. It definitely brings up some interesting conversation because obviously this came out in the 1960s. Probably was filmed in 1959, so in the 50s. Comes out in the 60s. And it's crazy to think that back then people had talked about the possibility of life being in a mirrorverse or in a separate plane similar to ours. Because I feel like as kids and even as adults, you can find articles where people believe this is a real thing. But as kids, like, you wonder at some point, like you look into a mirror and as you walk off, you know, you wonder if the version of you in the mirror is doing the same thing that you're doing, just in like reverse, as far as reverse movement. Because you'd think if it can see what you're doing and mimic what you're doing, then it has to be able to mimic everything in the world. It's a weird thought, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a thought that as teenagers, kids, whatever, even some of us as adults have probably really sat down and really thought hard about and wondered if it does exist. And like I said, I don't think about it too much. I think it's just fun. It's, again, something I probably thought about when I was younger. Haven't thought about much as an adult, but I am super excited for the next one. So tomorrow's episode, or not tomorrow, the next episode, because tomorrow you'll be getting a Welcome to Paradox. But the next Twilight Zone episode will be on Patreon, coming out on Halloween, and it is called "The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street." So that's actually super cool. I think that was some really good placement. It'd be really cool if the next Halloween one was Nightmare as a Child. I don't think it will be. That's also near the end of the season. Bum, bum, bum. But that was episode 21. Guys, we're on episode 22 of 36. We're getting there. We are almost done. Almost done with the Twilight Zone. Anyways, that is going to do it, guys. I love you. We'll see you next time. Peace.